Hi everyone, hope you all are doing good. Today we are going to see CSS. What is CSS? As you know, we have seen various things about HTML, how to develop web pages in HTML and website in HTML. HTML is used for structuring your web page or giving the content to your web page on your browser, where and how the content should look, what the content should be, right? We've seen many things in HTML as far as when it comes to designing, right? But there are some or the other limitations with HTML. Like for example, if you remember when we were adding images, background images, I told you that we have to have the specific uh, height to width ratio of image, means a full size image for applying it as a background to your web page, right? If the image is small, for example, you cannot apply it because it will just go on repeating itself until and unless it just complete the whole screen, right? So this sort of problems can be overcome by using CSS. So actually, if you see, HTML was never meant for styling or for designing your web pages. It is just your content and structure of the web page. So CSS is a thing which helps in designing and decorating and beautifying your web page or website which you have developed in HTML. So what I thought is before proceeding further with forms in HTML and so on with different things in HTML, we should know about what is CSS. So that's why we are going to first see what is CSS and how to use it. So CSS means cascading style sheets. As the name suggests, we are styling these sheets in HTML, right? Okay, so let's see more about CSS. So what is CSS? CSS is used for styling your web page created using HTML. It gives look and feel to your web pages. CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all one. So what is all this? First of all, as I told you, CSS is used for styling your web page. Means, are you getting, right? We have already used some sort of things in HTML as well for styling. But when you use CSS, it gave you a lot of options and alternative for styling your web pages. You even can't imagine there are n number of things in CSS which you can use for styling your web page. So this is very interesting actually. And so that's why it saves you lots of work because you don't have to give particularly everywhere. You don't have to style everywhere wherever you want in CSS. Means as a you can take everything in bulk and apply CSS to those things as well. We'll obviously see these things in further as we go further. But that means the last line which says that it saves a lot of work. So how it saves a lot of work is because you can apply a single CSS file to multiple web pages as well. And that's why you can, it's told that it can save you lots of time, right? We will surely see this. And when we'll see this, you'll understand there's a concept of external CSS. In that, you'll understand the meaning of this third sentence. Okay. So this is a basic syntax of CSS. So CSS actually is for styling your web pages. Styling your web pages means styling your content in the web pages. So your content may comprise of, what your content is comprising of. The content is in the body. So in the body, there are a number of tags we are using when we are developing a web page, right? Like we are using paragraph, we are using headers, we're using what else? We are using many other things in the body section, in the body part, right? So to change or to design this content of the body, right? We are using CSS, and for that the syntax comprise of a selector. What is a selector? A selector points to the HTML element you want to style. a specific HTML element which you want to set. For example, if in your HTML body, if in your in your web page, if there is a header H1, okay, consisting the header of your body. Like for example, this is my post web page. So you want to make the the color of that particular line, the header, to green or to red, then you can apply this thing. You can write like this H1, and the syntax for that goes here. H1, and we have a property and value, right? So what you want to change? You want to change the color of the center. So that is a property, and value for that color. There are many colors, right? So you can give any color you want to give for that particular H1 header, right? So this is what the syntax look like. So it might be a little confusing and difficult for you to understand, but when we'll practice it in actual, then you'll find it very easy to, very easy to do. So as you can see, I've given an example as well. H1, and here the color is blue. Font size of that H1 text is 12 pixels. So this way you can give, right? So the declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolon. So this is syntax which you should know. If you compare in HTML, how we used to give colors, this is some sort of things which were there for designing, like colors and background images and background color. We used to write simply BG color equal to, and then the color name, right, in double quotes. But here it's quite different. We don't use equal to. We use a colon for giving value to the property. Okay, and when it is completed, we have to give a semicolon, because we can give multiple, we can apply multiple things in one particular element. That's why, right? Multiple CSS declarations separated with semicolons, and declaration blocks are surrounded by curly braces, as you can see. So this is a syntax of CSS. Okay. Okay. So okay. So you should know the syntax of that. We can quickly see how does it looks when it comes to syntax. So what I'll do is, here is my web page I have created, and what I'm going to do is I am going to, in my body, I'm going to add a H1 tag as I showed you there, right? So for example, H1, and over here I'll write something like my learning CSS, okay? CSS, and H1 is closed. Now what I want is, if I'll just run it, and let's see how does it look. So where to run from the folder where I have saved it, right? So when I'll run it, you will see learning CSS over here. So what I'll do is I'll simply go over here and change the color, right? We in HTML we were not changing the color of this, right? Do you remember? So how to apply styles or CSS to this H1? I want to change this color. So with the help of CSS, you can change the color. How? So you will write over here, H1 is my element, right? Whatever is written in the H1 tag, in H1 element, I want to change the color of that particular thing to red. So the syntax for the CSS is this, which I just showed you, right? It is written in curly braces, and inside that you will write color, which is a property, and the name of color is red, and a semicolon, right? And when you save it and run it, it will run. Okay, but before that, one very important thing we are missing over here is that this should be in style tag. So there is a tag style where we give our CSS. As you can see, there is title, and inside that title tag we write our title. Similarly, there is body tag where we give a body. Similarly, there is head. So in head we give this style thing. Okay, so style, I will close this style. Okay, and by mistakenly I've written this H1 above head. So let me write it inside, above body. So I'm writing it inside body, and now I'll save it. And now let's see how does it looks. Oh, here we go. So the color has changed to red as we have applied it, right? If I just remove this, if I don't give anything over here, or if I give P, which is not there in my body yet, and if I save it, so the color will vanish again. And it has came to black again. So for example, if I add another paragraph over here, okay, consisting of some information. So let's see, and I have written P over there at the top, right? I'll add something in my paragraph, maybe this thing itself. So what to add? I'll add this thing. Okay, and let's see. After adding this thing, how does it looks? Okay, here we go. Right, it was a paragraph. So even though the what I copied was in a list format in a PowerPoint presentation, right? That there were one below other, but since it was a paragraph tag, it has represented and showed it in a paragraph form. And we have applied a CSS to that paragraph. And what is the CSS? The color should be red. If I change it to, for example, green, and let's see how does it look. It will change to green, right? So and so on and so forth. So this is how is a syntax for giving CSS. You have to compulsory write style, and inside style you can give your CSS for whatever element you want, whether it is paragraph, H1, or any other element which you will be further, for example, tables and so on. You will be using any of your page, right? Okay, so let's move further. So you got it right. The syntax, this is a selector. Selector means what you want to, where you want to apply the CSS, right? On what particular element. So that is called a selector. So my selector is paragraph element right now. And then following with this syntax, right? Property value inside curly braces. Now moving forward, there are many types of selectors. What are those? Those are this all. So one by one, we'll see the types of selectors. So what you saw now, we applied color to paragraph first, then before that we applied to H1 tag, right? H1 element. So this particular selectors are known as element selector because we are directly applying the what to say the color or the CSS to your element of HTML, right? This is a tag in HTML. H1 is a tag in HTML, which is also called as element of HTML. Similarly, P is a tag in HTML. So we are directly applying the CSS to this tags and elements in HTML. That's why this particular selector is called element selector, right? Similarly, we have another selector, which is, okay, sorry, I directly showed you those things, which is ID selector. Okay, now what is ID selector? So ID selector is, okay, let's see what it is. ID selector is, as I told you, I guess some time back as well, when we were doing the top and bottom links at that time, that you have to have an ID for representing, right, yourself. For example, I have a number of H1 tag in my, or for example, I have number of paragraph. Okay, I have a number of paragraph in my web page consisting of different information. Okay, and if I just save this, okay, I'll just do it to red because it is quite visible very clearly. So, and if I just save it and I go and run, so what will happen? My all paragraph will get the red color, right? Because we have given the CSS in that way, right? We have told that P, this element should be color red. So I have I have used paragraph 4 times in my web page. So everywhere it will give this color red, right? But for example, if you do want everything should be in red, you want only a specific one paragraph should be in red because that is something important, like a note, right? At the end we give like a summary, like at the end we give, right? So in that case, what you will do? So in that case, you can use ID selector instead of element selector. So what this ID selector is? ID selector is we give an ID to the element, okay? And we can apply CSS onto that ID instead of the element. I'll show you how. So ID equal to, for example, I'll give the name of the ID as, I'll give the name of the ID as, for example, ABC. Okay, I'll not give ABC. For example, important. Important is the name of the ID. So now out of this all paragraph, I want the all paragraph to be in blue color. Okay. And see, if I do this, what will happen? It will still show everything in blue. Okay. But out of this, the last paragraph is having ideas important. It should be in red because this is something important. It's like a note. Okay. So I want it in red color. So what I'll do is I will go and write ID over here instead of an element. My ID is important and I will give the ID. I will apply the CSS to the ID as color equal to, colon, red and semicolon. So now it will turn to red. But before that, there is again one important thing that IDs are always represented with a hash in front of them. Remember this, okay? So this is a representation of ID. So if now I see, when I go and I run this, now you can see that your last paragraph has changed the color to red, right? So this is a use of ID, got it? So what is an ID? ID is used ID selector uses the ID attribute of an HTML element. ID attribute is just what we gave to the last paragraph. The ID of an element is unique within a page. So the ID selector is used to select one unique element itself, as you saw, right? We again, one more important thing, that we cannot give ID to all, same ID to all paragraph. Okay, you can give different IDs, but not the same ID, because ID, the name ID stands for, you know, unique identification. You cannot give the same ID to different. In your school, when you were having IDs, your in your identification number at that time, no two people or no two students have the same ID, right? Every student have their own ID. Similarly, here as well, we can't give same ID. You cannot give ID to more than one element. Okay, so ID is very unique. Yes, if you want to give different ID, that's another thing. So for example, if I write your ID equal to another ID, I'll write information, okay? And if I go and if I give color to this information, for example, color equal to maybe green, colon, and I'll go and I'll save it. Here we go, okay? So ID has to be unique. That's what I want to tell. To select an element with a specified ID, write a hash character followed by the ID, which we already have seen, right? So this was ID selector. What is the next selector? The next selector, again, very important selector, is a class selector, because many a times we mostly tend to use this class selectors as compared to ID selectors or element selectors or any other selector. So these are the most used selectors in CSS. So what is this class selector? Everything is same as ID. Okay, there's no different in ID and selector. Okay, but there is only a single difference between ID and a class selector. What is that? That a single ID can be used at a time in your web page, right? Like as we've seen, it is unit. It is stands for unique identification. We cannot apply this particular ID or this particular ID to this paragraph and this paragraph as well, because it violates the rule. It doesn't works, right? So this can be overcome by using class selector. So what does class selector can do? Class selector can be used for multiple elements in your web page. For selective, for example, there are 4 paragraphs in my web page. One of them is very important, and that's why I want it to be read. And the other 2 paragraphs are showing some sort of information, and that's why I want it to be green. And the remaining is just a very normal sort of introduction. So I want it to be blue. So how I will do it? I've already given an ID to the last paragraph, so it is in red. If I give another ID to this, it will be green, right? But I can't give the same ID over here, right? So what I'll have to do is I'll have to, for example, give this ID here, but with some sort of another name, right? Some sort of another name like maybe info. Okay, so double N I'm writing. And the same thing I'll write over here as well again, because this will not get applied to this. Let's see whether how it will get. It will not get because I've not given anything. So what I'll have to do again, I'll have to do this and I'll have to write I and then again, then color green and then now it will work. Isn't it? But why we have to do this double work? This is repetition of your code, right? We are writing the same thing, color green, 2 times. So I don't want this. So to overcome this, we have classes. So classes, one single class can be applied to as many as elements in your web page. How? So instead of this ID, we'll simply replace it with a class, and this is how we give class selector. Okay, and one more difference important is that as we call your ID with hash, we call the class with, or we represent this class with a dot or a period. Okay, so if I control S it, and if I'll go and run it, see, right? We don't have to, okay, sorry. Yeah. So I have the same class, right? I'm giving the same class to 2 different elements. No need to give different like ID. Have you seen? So if I give the same thing to this class, or if I give the same thing to, for example, H1, no, it will not work for H1 because, yeah, if I give it to, suppose, no, it will work for H1 as well. So class, and if I go and run, this is also there. So wherever your class info is there, whether it is H1, paragraph, or any other type of element, it will change the color, right? This is a use of class. It's very important. Don't get confused, or don't feel that it's quite difficult to understand. Yes, it's a little quite difficult right now because it may be very new for you. But as we'll go further and we'll practice more things in CSS, it will become more clear. Right? Okay. So after class selector, we have universal selectors. So what is this universal selector? It is used for simply, as you can see, the universal selector selects all HTML elements on the page. So irrespective of what is the element, you can use this universal selector. For example, we'll just see the same thing. What we'll do is and it is represented by asterisk. So there were multiple colors right now, right? Now I'll just change the paragraph to asterisk and let's see what happens. If you everything from top to bottom has changed to, yeah, has changed to the blue color because it is showing blue, right? This is a work of universal selectors. Okay. Next selector is grouping selector. So what is grouping selectors? For example, if there is a multiple tags or multiple elements, okay, 1 or 2 elements, which are having same sort of, well, same sort of CSS we've applied. So we can group them together as well. For example, okay, instead of class and what to say, instead of class and ID, if I have H1, H1 is having color as blue, and as well as I want to give my paragraph color also as blue. Because if I do so, what will happen? Only H1 will have, and then rest all is yeah, rest all is in black. So for example, I want P also blue, and if I write it like this, okay, again, so now it will give for this thing to my paragraphs as well. Okay, so we have written this twice, right? We can also use asterisk in this case, but for example, if there is another tags like H2 and H3 in your web page, or table tag or any other tag, but for now I give H2. Here is H2. Okay. So if now you see it will happen. Right. So I don't want my H2 and H5 tags. I only want H1 tag in my web page and all the paragraph tags to be color blue. So I have a row right like this right now. But See, the CSS is same in both the places. So why to write it differently? Because it is getting repeated. So we can club this together. Well, how to club it together? Simply by putting a comma P. Okay. So if I save it now and if I go and run it now, it is blue because yeah, it was blue because first we wrote it separately. If I just remove this P, it will become black over here. So if I add a P over here, it's and then P. Now it will be okay. So this is a work of selectors, grouping selector. Okay. So this was very basics of CSS, very basic yet very important things because basics are important always. So you have to know this basic, there's some syntax of CSS to write CSS. And yes, we will achieve it when we'll practice it more and more. And as well as the selectors are very important. You have to remember the selectors and what are the uses of the selectors and how does it work, right? So this is very important thing. And further, there is another very important thing in CSS, and that is how to load CSS. That means we have seen how to apply CSS now, but there are also ways to load the CSS. Okay, to use the CSS. Okay, and those are inline, internal, and external. One of the very important topic in CSS. So we are going to see it in a further tier, right? Till then, take care. Bye.